Hello there, everybody, and welcome. And you know what's really unusual about this, besides the fact that I'm sitting at my dining room table doing a show, is that I'm actually a little bit nervous. I haven't done any broadcasting since the end of February, so it's been a while. The occasional call in to the Paul Castronovo show or the Defo show, but I did a podcast in Canada. I didn't go to Canada, though Canada's pretty awesome. But it's been a quiet time here. Understandably, it probably has been for you as well. So, what I'm going to do here, this is what they call in the restaurant industry a soft opening. In other words, I don't have a lot bells and whistles. I don't have any actually. No graphics, no cool background. That's painting. You'll get there eventually. No guests because I frankly don't know how to do it, and I'd be afraid to invite somebody, and then they'd call, and then they'd call, and then they'd be hanging out in the middle of cyberspace, and it would be horrifying. So let's not do that today. Let's just chat for a little while because I do have a few topics. I'm not going to keep you terribly long. I'm hungry. I want to make lunch. So let's get to one thing. I wasn't going to do a lot of sports, and I don't plan on doing a lot of sports. It's not going to be 100% sports because I have more interest than that, and I know you all do too. But the Cam Newton signing by the New England Patriots has caught everybody's attention, particularly for the Dolphins fans who are out there. And I know there are a sprinkling of Patriots fans in South Florida. But is this really going to be an earth-shattering moment? I don't know. This isn't 2015 Cam. This is a Cam that's been beat up and not nearly as productive the last few seasons, to the point where injuries cost him his job, and Carolina Panthers didn't want to make a major financial risk. And this is where New England is smart, because this isn't going to cost them, but at most $7.5 million. And it's a one-year deal. So if he stinks or if they get rid of him, you know what they're going to get back? The draft pick they just lost, or essentially the same round in a different year, for that whole Cincinnati cheating thing they did when they just way overplayed their hand and looked stupid doing it. Amateurish cheating by far by the Patriots. So this is a smart move. Is it going to make them all of a sudden great again, Super Bowl contenders again? No, not on offense, because they don't have weapons, man. Name a New England Patriots offensive player on the team right now who you go, oh, God, if we don't cover this guy, that person's going to go off. I'll wait. Nah, I'm not going to wait. The answer is no. They don't have that. So, yes, it's a very smart move, because if Jarrett Stidham walked in front of me right now, I wouldn't know it's Jarrett Stidham. I guarantee you that guy could go through Copley Square in Boston and maybe 3 people would recognize him. So, yeah, the Patriots might need a boosted quarterback. So, let's see what happens with this deal. I'm not sold this is going to make them great. They'll have great offense, but it's worth a try. What's the harm for them? Absolutely none. Now, something else that came up in the world of football that I really wanted to get into today, this is actually going to be my opening topic. My congratulations to a friend, Howard Schnellenberger. He'd be the winner of the upcoming Bear Bryant Lifetime Achievement Award. And if you know Howard's background, he worked with Bear. He helped bring Joe Namath to Alabama in the 60s. And it's possible that there was some rubbery checks and all of that being brought in to bring Mr. Namath downtown into Tuscaloosa. Anyway, I've known Howard since I was a student at the University of Miami, and he was the head coach. So, yes, I've known him a long, long time. And this is an overdue but extremely worthy award for coach. And now let's talk about what I really wanted to get angry about. Why this man is not in the College Football Hall of Fame is beyond me. Now, I know it's personal for me. I understand. I know the guy. I've worked for him. I've worked with him. So, yes, I do have a personal stake in this. I can't deny that. But to deny him entry to the College Football Hall of Fame because his one-loss record doesn't meet a certain standard, you have to make an exception here. You must make an exception here, because I will argue, and I'm going to do that right now, that this is one of the most unique careers in the history of college sports. Not just college football, college sports, period. You go back to his days at Alabama. You go back to, he was an All-American tight end at Kentucky a long time ago. University of Miami, off the deck. The program was going nowhere. We had just moved down here. Nobody went to games. I know, nobody goes now. But in this case, he rescued that program. Yes, Lou Saban left him some seeds to play with. I totally agree with that. But left too soon? Of course he left too soon. Took a gamble on a league and a team that never panned out. Goes to Louisville. You know how bad Louisville was? It's not the Louisville you see now. It's not the Louisville with the Howard Schnellenberger football building. It's a Louisville that played in a baseball stadium, minor league baseball stadium at that. Didn't even have their own stadium to play in. And in the early days, he took some L's, man. He lost to 1AA or Division II level squads. Look what he finally did. He built that into a winning program, won a Fiesta Bowl over mighty Alabama. Now, you can question it. He could have stayed there. I think he could have. He's a Kentucky guy. But he goes into the one spot on his, that's like a bad spot on a lung on an x-ray, and that would be Oklahoma. 1 year, he had no support from the Switzerites who were still in love with Barry, and he bailed. And I don't blame him. It was a bad year. So he's out of the game for a while. I remember doing a TV show with him. I think it was on Channel 33. During a Dolphins broadcast, and he was, I forgot, selling and he was doing something very un-Howard-like. And then he got into FAU, and he put that university on a much larger map. Let's think about it. 20 years ago, let's see, this is 2020, right? Maybe even 25 years ago. What did you think of Florida Atlantic University? Primarily a commuter school, right? Yeah. It's this university by the airport where Jimmy Johnson took off in Jerry Jones's private plane to go coach the Dallas Cowboys when he left UM. Not too early, as it turned out for Jerry and for Jimmy. So with football, because athletics can be a window into any university if it's done right, look at FAU now. Bowl games, national attention with coaches like Lane Kiffin passing through. A very nice stadium that seats just the right amount of people, and more butts need to be in those seats, by the way. That would be nice. And an identity. New dorms have popped up all over the campus. The Innovation Center that I heard about when back in the 2000s when I was traveling with the team and working for Coach is happening. Yeah, he took some losses. And we went everywhere to play, man, everywhere, especially in the Division I AA days. We played anybody, anywhere we could. Playoffs in Flagstaff, Arizona at altitude, which we won, by the way. And that's not good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. I know he took some losses. He took losses as part of building because he had the courage to understand that if he did it and stayed with it, his method would work. And he took some losses at the end of his career, too. But FAU absolutely owed him the right to be in that stadium when it opened, and they did the right thing by not doing anything drastic, and they were right to do that. That man has risked his one-loss record to build programs out of nothing in some cases, or out of less than nothing. And that's a Hall of Fame career to me, and it galls me no end. And I've been to the College Football Hall. They did a good job with it, but it's missing something. It is 1,000% missing something, and that something is Howard Schnellenberger. So, let's see. Here's the thing. I'm really worried it's never going to happen. I have to admit, it really, well, to borrow an expression from Family Guy, grinds my gears. Don't like it one bit. You know something else that people don't like? Hey, segue, transition. Baseball. I'm not going to give you the download on the 60-game season. The best line I've heard about sports in the pandemic that anybody said, I believe it was Tim Kirkjian, who said what we have to find is the best, worst idea and go with it. And that goes for the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, the National Women's Soccer League, you name it. If you want sports, you're going to have to accept that things are not going to be the same this year. And it may well be for college football and the NFL and even college basketball, which doesn't start till November. But I'm worried. I'm very worried. So, baseball. I'm not going to talk about 60 games. Just play. I hope everybody can play. I just want to watch. I'll watch. I'm not worried about asterisks and what if he hits, what if a home run record? No, don't worry about records. If a guy hits 400, he hits 400. It's not Ted Williams. We know. It's okay. So, here's what I do want to talk about. The Kansas tiebreaker. Otherwise known as the thank God this game is going to be over with for every baseball parent out there. And if you were a baseball parent like my wife and I were when our boys were anywhere from about 9 to 13 and started playing travel ball, the tiebreaker I'm referring to is where they're going to do in extra innings here in Major League Baseball. Start on second with one out. You know why I like it? It takes me back to a random Wednesday night, 45 minutes from my house, back in the day when I was getting up at 4 in the morning to do a talk show on WIOD and also appearing on Paul and Young Ron at the time. And it's already 9:30. It's going to be 45 minutes to get home. By the way, let's say the game ended at 9:45. Then we have to have the life-altering coach talk that every youth coach does in every sport for anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes afterwards, which no parent wants to listen to, by the way. It's time to go. It's a school night. We have to get him home. We probably have to stop at some drive-thru to feed him. He's got to take a shower. How often can you get a 12-year-old to go jump in the shower when he's full of baseball dirt? The tiebreaker offered you hope. It offered you that chance to go, oh, okay, I want him to win, but at least, all right, we'll be home soon. Heck, even if the game was 5 minutes away, the process was still forever. So I'm right down with this Kansas tiebreaker, and I realize that sounds like a deviant act, but, it's not, I promise. But yes, the Kansas tiebreaker, all for it. And I tell you something else about baseball, and this has been on my mind a lot, but even before I started thinking about doing anything like this where I talk about the world and sports and all this other crazy stuff. Everybody's worried about time with baseball. And I know, when I first started watching baseball, you'd whip through a doubleheader in 4.5 hours. You'd whip through a ball game in 2:05, 2:15. And now, because of commercials and slow pitchers and slow batters and umpires who maybe don't crack down on the rules enough, we have things like the pitch clock and all this other stuff. But I'm telling you this much. There's only so much you can do to baseball. You can't go 2 balls, 1 strike. You can't all of a sudden have 5 pitchers out there to throw the ball at once to hurry things up. You're going to have to accept that baseball is not a game meant to be played at a super fast pace. And if you can't accept that, that's okay. But every year it seems like somebody's coming up with something. I like the pitch. You know what? Get the guys in the batter's box and don't let them out. Don't let them go all Garcia Parra on it. I knew I would break something here eventually. And start doing all this other stuff that he would do, all those little ticks and touch this and no, get in or it's a strike. That'll save some time. But as far as the TV stuff goes, you can't fix that. That's going to happen. That's going to stay. All right? So if you like to watch them on the TV, sorry, costs money, got to pay for it. So I'm okay with baseball as it is. Let's stop complaining. And if you don't want to watch, we're good. A couple of other things that I noticed some questions here. I want to briefly touch on conspiracy theories, but I'm not going to go crazy with it, so to speak. I've never quite understood them. I'm a guy who needs proof. I like to see facts. Maybe believe it or not, I actually have a degree in journalism. I know. Doesn't come in handy very much, but I have one. So I go back to the days when it was facts. I'll give you a story that gives you an idea where I come on conspiracy theories and why I'm not a huge believer in them. And by the way, if that's your thing, go ahead. Knock yourself out. I used to work at Dania High as the announcer. If you were there in the 1980s, you're welcome. In the 70s, there was a game-fixing scandal at Dania, and it did hurt the sport. But in the 80s, and I got to know the game rather intimately, at frontons all over the state I would go to for fun or for work, I never saw anything that looked fixed. Yeah, I know, a guy would drop an easy ball after catching 3 difficult, that's just a matter of concentration, maybe thinking ahead of what to do with it. I never bought into that. And here's what I always would tell somebody, do you think it's fixed? And I would say, no, I really don't. Yeah, but what about when they talk to each other? I said, this isn't wrestling, where they talk to each other to go over what's going to happen the next move. I said, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen, and I personally have not, somebody go up to with a winning ticket to the window and say out loud or mutter under his or her breath, hey, thank God that game was fixed. I won. No, it's loser talk. And so that's where I kind of land on conspiracy theories. They get really wacky. I'm not saying you're a loser. Please don't get mad. But I'm just saying the conspiracy theories, whether they're in sports or in the larger world, I'm not a real big buyer. The Bubba Wallace noose thing. I never understood why people thought it was a conspiracy theory. And by the way, have we ever figured that out yet? But the idea of a conspiracy theory is, well, who benefits? Is NASCAR going to suddenly look woke if they sent some low-level intern to go throw a noose on a garage door at Bubba Wallace's garage? I don't know how they benefit. I could be missing something, but I don't know how they benefit. And I know it was off the heels of the whole Confederate flag thing, which bothered some people and others embraced heartily. But what's the conspiracy? What's the basis of it? And this probably goes back to even before the greatest conspiracy theory of all time, JFK, as to who really killed him. Was it the mob? Was it really Oswald? Did LBJ or Nixon order the hit? There's 1,000 of those. These are still guys in Dallas. I was there a few months ago. There's still people out there right by on the grassy knoll or right by it or right on the highway there, just a few feet from that X that marks the spot on the road. And I'm not buying it. I'm not. So I just need to understand more about why people go as far as they do. Some people get really dark. I might go for the Patrick Ewing frozen envelope one in sports, maybe, despite David Stern's protestations. That one actually makes some sense, but we never proved it. So my whole thing on this is just prove it. That's all I'm asking. Just prove it. All right, one more thing on my list, and then I see a couple questions, and I don't want to leave without taking them. And as I said, this isn't going to be some hour-long extravaganza. Number one, I'm kind of hungry. I want to make some dinner, lunch. And the other thing that's cool about this is at any moment, somebody could walk in here, hopefully somebody who belongs here, like my son who hasn't left yet, or my wife who's actually working from an office today. Quick aside. She told me last night that she got a call from somebody. I think I might have been exposed to someone who has the virus, but I'm off Monday, so I'll see you Wednesday. If I had the little sound of the records being scratched, hopefully that person has been told as politely as possible, why don't you skip Wednesday? Take a few more days off. We love you. Zoom us, call us, stay out. Anyway, a lot of Netflix. 2 shows I've just watched or am in the middle of watching, and I'll have more on this later, but have you guys seen the Bill Murray documentary about all the random sightings? It came out a couple of years ago, and because I'm not a big Netflix guy until recently, for obvious reasons, it's great. It shows a lot of the crazy-ass encounters that Bill Murray has had. Go find it. I don't remember the exact name of it, but if you just search Bill Murray, it'll pop up. And I think this is fairly new. There's a Monty Python documentary. Monty Python documentary with the surviving members of Python talking about. The first episode was a little dull because it really got into I met him at university, and this guy I met here, and I met this guy here. But the second episode features a lot of skets, a lot of commentary from some very funny people and the influence of Python. I loved Python, still do. If John Cleese, whose real name is Cheese, even better, but he stuck with Cleese, and that is how you pronounce it, is Cleese. If he was the guy who walked in right now, I'd be on the floor laughing. His mere appearance makes me smile and makes me laugh. That's a gift that he has, and guys like Eric Idle and the others. So it's a good one to watch. I have more Netflix stuff, but those are 2 that are very recent with me. I could do an hour on Schitt's Creek if you'd like, because that show is become one of my top 10 favorite shows of all time. And I haven't seen season 6 yet, or we haven't seen season 6 yet. We finished season 5 a little while ago. Top 10 show in my life will be Schitt's Creek. And if you haven't seen it, it's a comedy. It literally uplifted my soul. Laugh out loud, uplifted my soul. I would watch some dark thing about drug dealing and violence that I'm getting tired of, and I could turn to Schitt's Creek, and I would feel better about my life. And I'm dead serious about that. But I'll do Schitt's Creek later. Let me look at a couple of comments and some questions, and I did see one came very early. David asking about New England and talk to the playoffs. I think the East is wide open. There are a lot of very optimistic Dolphins fans, and I'm not sure about that just yet. Buffalo fans are very optimistic, and if you're the Jets, you know what you got. You have Adam Gase. The Patriots' defense was pretty good last year. I don't like their offense, even with Cam Newton if he's held. Now, look, if Cam Newton comes out and plays like 6 years ago, I'm in. But I'm still – I don't put him in the Super Bowl, maybe on the fringe of the playoffs, because they like him or not, you got the best coach. Sorry, I know, he's dour. But, by the way, did you at least laugh during the draft when there was a picture of his dog and the graphic said Bill Belichick head coach? Did you? Come on. I know you don't like him, many of you, but you had to admit that was pretty cool. My friend Phil mentions that Howard Schnellenberger changed all of college football forever. I actually agree with that. He did it with an old-fashioned Paul Brown passing offense. He took a lot of the conservatism out of college football, and later on we started getting the Dennis Erickson style, the one back and all this other stuff. But yeah, and God knows how many titles he would have won. If you go back to the first Billy Corbin U documentary, the one that wasn't quite as depressing as the second one, the last half hour, that made me want to step in front of a bus. But anyway, it's not Billy's fault. He's just telling the story. But yeah, I think it was Artie Kehoe, who I hope is doing well. And Artie said there was no telling how many championships he could have won at Miami. He would have been bringing in great quarterbacks. Would have adjusted at the time. Absolutely. Holy crap. Absolutely right. Mitch wants to know about Vegas rate for bookies. Mitch, one of the things that was lost was my annual March Madness trip to Vegas, which I take with anywhere from 80 to 100 people. Many of them from Kentucky. I got this group of really great guys from Kentucky, and I missed that trip desperately. It comes at the end of my basketball season, and it's a real cleanser for me. And sometimes it cleans out my wallet, but it's a great thing. I love Vegas with all my heart, and I can't wait to go back there safely. I wouldn't want to be there right now under any circumstances, especially since it's probably about 105 degrees out there right now. And I have been to Vegas in the summer to watch my boys play basketball in that weather. And you're so grateful that it is an indoor sport. And, man, you walk outside and it's 100 and it's like a punch in the jaw for that kind of heat. So, any hope for the New York Football Giants? Oh, Amy. Still have Saquon Barkley, right? We'll leave it at that. Cam Newton is really fit in the locker room? I don't know. If he's good, he will. I promise you that. If he can win, he will. He is, and the other thing is, he's not going to be the dominant personality in that town. Brady's gone. It's going to be Belichick who's going to be the dominant. Of course, he doesn't want that. He could care less. But Cam Newton's going to have to produce. If there's one franchise I can count on that won't put up with anything outside of football very much, it'll be New England. And they'll dump him. The guy doesn't care. He doesn't care. So I think that's what's going to happen. Bill, will I be doing bowling on Fox again? I don't know. That's the best answer I can give you. I had some chances earlier in the year, and I couldn't do it because of contractual obligations. So I have absolutely no idea. So, thoughts on Jimmy Garoppolo? It'll be the last question. I don't want you guys to spend too much of your day, but unless there are more questions, I'll be happy to take them. I think Jimmy Garoppolo gets a bad rap. He was the quarterback for a Super Bowl team, was he not? The problem is he had that little stretch with New England when I believe they did have playmakers that made him look great. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be really scrutinized this season. And I'm making the assumption we're going to have a normal season. Because the first time he screws up, they're going to be calling for his head. And he will make mistakes. If you take one throw back, that open throw he missed, if he hits that in the fourth quarter, if I remember correctly, the Niners are probably going to win that game. As great as Mahomes is, and he is the best right now, the best in football. And it's on his way to potential immortality in the game. But Garoppolo makes that throw, we have a different football game. And I'm not saying that's the only reason the Niners didn't win and that Kansas City was able to come back because, again, Mahomes found his groove after a terrible start, which the Niners deserve some credit for. But, no, I think he's a good quarterback. I hate the term game manager, Bobby, because every quarterback is really a game manager. I know what it means. It basically means you're not very good. Just hand it off, make 8-yard throws, and don't muck it up for everybody else. That's what game manager means. When you hear that, there's no chance that's a compliment. And I don't like the term anyway. It's like saying a pitcher is a game manager. Yeah, if he's throwing strikes. And if he can't hit the strike zone, or half of his strikes are winding up in the $20 seats, then he's not doing a very good job of managing the game. So with that, I think it's time to take my leave. I'm going to have some pasta. Sorry if you're a keto person. Sorry, I mentioned pasta. Talk about keto some other time. I do have some thoughts about that. WVUM, of course, always 90.5 FM, the voice of the University of Miami. Thank you very much. And one of the reasons I did this was your encouragement. It means a lot to me. A lot of the comments you all have made today and made in the last week or so, as I was trying to figure out what to do with my life for a while, have really encouraged me and made me feel great. So thank you very much for that. I fully expect to hook up with Ed Berliner again on A Man in the Arena, or The Man in the Arena, Ed's show. And I've been talking with somebody else about he and I doing some things. In fact, a couple of people. So they'll be doing more of this. But thank you so very much for watching any of your comments today. I'm going to try to post this on Facebook and try not to burn out my computer. Wish me luck. And it'll be on there. I think you can save it to this too. So I'm going to head out, boil some noodles. Thank you very, very much, all of you, for watching. I'll have some more stuff to talk about next time I do this, and I'll certainly let you know when I'm ready to do it again. Thank you very much. As the great Mal Campbell used to say in Washington, D.C., my time is up. I thank you for yours. Take care. See you again.